In this video, we're going to learn a new shortcut called the product rule. So far we've used the power rule to take derivatives. That works if there's addition or subtraction because I can just break it up into multiple power rules. But what happens if we're multiplying things together? We're going to need a new rule for that. And this is the rule. It's called the product rule because product means multiplication. So I'm multiplying two different things together. This is what the rule states. It says I take the original f function and I multiply that by the derivative of the second function. And I take the original of the second function and multiply by the derivative of the first. So write this down. Make sure it's written correctly because it's something you're going to have to memorize. But this is the way that I kind of remember the product rule. Is if you're doing the product rule, you pair each function up with the other function's derivative. So I have this f in g. Its derivative is going to be, well, I have f of x and g of x, and each one's going to get paired with the other one's derivative. So that's kind of the method that you're doing. You're going to have to find all these different things and just put them into the formula. So let's find the derivative of this function. So for really most of the functions we're looking at now, you could just multiply them out and use the power rule. But we're going to use the product rule because it's practice we need for when we introduce more complicated functions later. But we have these two different functions, one here and one here being multiplied together. Let's call this one g and this one h. I can't call it f and g because f is our actual overall function. But we have g of x is 2x minus 1, which means g prime of x is just 2. H of x is 3x plus 2, which means h prime of x is just 3. So now using the product rule, I take one of my original functions, in this case g of x, it doesn't matter which one you do first, and I pair that with the other one's derivative. And then I add, now I switch it, now I take the other original function, and I pair that with the other one's derivative. So that is the product rule. You just have to do these derivatives separately and then put them into the formula. Here I can simplify a bit, distribute the 3, distribute the 2, and you get 12x minus plus 1. So that's my derivative. If you wanted to double check this, or you could just FOIL this out and take the derivative using the power rule. Again, I want to practice the product rule, so that's what we're going to do in this video. Here we're going to take the derivative of this function. Again, you see, especially with this parentheses here, that's a clear sign. There's going to be a multiplication between these two separate things. So again, let's call this first one g, and the second one h. So g of x is the first function, x cubed minus 3x. And g prime of x is the derivative of that. It's going to be 3x squared minus 3. Again, just using the power rule for these individual derivatives, but we use the product rule for the whole thing. H of x is these 4 terms. And h prime of x, 4x cubed minus 6x plus 0. Now I can put that all together. F prime of x, my original g, times the derivative of h, and maybe you're going opposites, plus my original h, times the derivative of g. And one thing is, there's a plus sign in the middle, so it actually doesn't matter which one you write first. I could have done h with g first, and then g with h second. So it doesn't matter which order you're doing, as long as you're getting the pairs together. A g with an h prime, h with a g prime. And here's one for you to try on your own. Take the derivative of this function. I'll show you the answer in 3, 2, 1. And here's the final answer you get. Again, just making sure the original functions kind of separate and then the derivatives go to the opposite places. For the video, for sake of time, you could FOIL this all out and combine like terms and stuff, but just for the sake of time for the video, I'll leave it here. But if you were doing this for an application problem or an answer on a test or something, you would want to FOIL out and combine like terms. just to get a fully simplified answer. Because we can FOIL this out, we could keep going, but just to keep the video short, I'll leave it there. So here's the important stuff from the lesson. The product rule allows you to take the derivative of functions being multiplied. So there's a difference between like 3x, because 3 is just a constant number multiplying by x. But if it's 3x times like x squared minus 2, these are two big things being multiplied together. Then you have to use the product rule. The process is basically pair each original function with the other's derivative. And again, this will get a little bit more complicated when we introduce more functions in the spring. Once you start having trig and exponentials and logarithms, right now you could basically multiply them all out if you wanted to. That might take a little bit longer, it's kind of dependent, but once we start introducing trig, there's really no other way to do it if you're multiplying functions.